Are you ready to break free from the doubts and limits holding you back? Welcome to Embrace Your Value, where therapy meets coaching to help you unlock your true worth and take control of your life.
Hi, I'm Kristen, a trauma therapist dedicated to helping you heal, break old patterns, and reclaim your power.
And I'm Jen, your support coach, here to show you how to set fierce boundaries, embrace self-compassion, and step boldly into the life you deserve.
So whether you're stuck in self-doubt or feeling lost, know this: your value isn't up for negotiation. It's time to own it.
Every week, we tackle real issues that challenge, inspire, and empower you to live with purpose and confidence.
So grab your favorite drink, take a deep breath, and let's get started.
Because you're not here to play small. It's time to embrace your value. Hey, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have the beautiful and talented Kim Parkinson, who is a podcast growth coach, producer, and host, who helps spiritually aligned women step into their voice and share their message with confidence. She believes that many women hold back due to limiting beliefs around being seen, heard, and valued. Kim's work supports them in shifting that through aligned podcast strategy. Kim is the founder of KP Creative Media and host of Podcasting for Spiritual Women. She's also a wife, a mom of 2 adult sons, and lives with a full house of animals, including 20 laying hens. I love that. There's always eggs at your house.
Oh, yes. I collected 17 of them the other day.
I love that. Well, welcome, Kim. We are so glad to have you here. And we would just love to hear your journey, your story, anything you feel compelled to share that will help our listeners on their growth to embracing their value and their worth.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm really passionate about helping women with their voice because my voice is actually what is helping me move through some of the past trauma of my childhood that actually bled into my 40s even. So what happened to me, I don't know if you guys remember, but back in the day, you could have a paper route. Maybe you say route, but here in New England, we say paper route. And I used to deliver that on a regular basis. It was actually the way that we sustained ourselves. Realistically, I came from a mom and dad that got divorced, and my dad, of course, didn't pay child support because that was, not his responsibility, I guess. I'm not sure. So in order to kind of like make ends meet, we ended up getting a paper route. And I did not even realize this until I was older that I never actually made any money. I just worked for free for my mom. Like I just did that and ended up with helping out. It would be, we got to eat, we got to keep the mortgage going, all of that. And one of these times I was collecting money, right? It was $1.80 for the paper every week. That's how cheap it was. That's how old I am. I'm not really that old, but and I ended up knocking on the door. The husband answers and he says, "How much do I owe you?" And they always just gave me $2. And so I said $2. I was probably, I don't know, maybe 11 or 12 when this happened. And he gave me $2 and off I went up the hill to the next house and collected my money there, came back down, and his wife was standing there at the end of the driveway, hands on hips, like, just, "Excuse me, come over here." And I thought, oh, okay. And she says, "You told my husband that it was $2 for the newspaper and it is only $1.80. And so I don't ever want you to tell anybody ever again that was a lie and it's $1.80. You won't be getting any more $2 from me." And I just, at the time, I mean, I don't know, maybe I had 20 cents on me. I have no idea. I don't know what I did at the time, but that is what I remember. But I did not remember that until I did some journaling in my 48th, 49th year of life. And I had always struggled with funds, right? From having a single mom with the dad not paying child support with this, $1.80, $2 problem. Years go by, and in my early 40s, we had a lawsuit that the family was involved in. I can't go into the specifics, but just know that I helped my family with being the liaison between them and their emotions and all of that, and the lawyer. So I was really embroiled in this lawsuit for about 5 years. And at the end of this lawsuit, a couple of things happened. I actually brought it up to the lawyers that the other side was doing some things that my family could see that was not appropriate. And they ended up settling for a substantial sum, substantial. And that actually got split up between my sister, my niece, a bunch of people, but not me. I was not part of that lawsuit. So the lawyer suggested that I get paid for my time. And so he asked my mother and my stepfather and my oldest sister. I am the oldest. She's the middle child. And they all said, no, we don't want to offer her anything. So my youngest sister actually paid me in full. She did. She did pay me in full, and I was whole with that. But it was really one of the reasons why I started journaling on a regular basis, to figure that out. And again, I had such a tough time with it that I ended up not realizing how much this affected my business, my life. I've always had really tough parts with finances. I'm a confident person, but always had that feeling in the back of my mind that maybe I wasn't quite worthy. And again, it was the power of speaking it out, journaling it out, that finally I have been able to realize it. Am I over it? Nope. But it's something that I work on a day-to-day basis for sure. And just kind of a sad story, but I'm glad that it has come to light for sure.
Yeah. And I love the end of what you said, which is I gotten to realize it. So we can't ever really get over, process, or fix anything that we don't know exists. Right. So you took the time, you realized you needed it, and you took the time to figure out what was going on. And what are you doing with that? Like now I'm invested in the rest of the story. Like, what are you doing?
So I'm working on this daily, right? So one of the recent things that I have done, again, I don't think I mentioned, but I just turned 50 at the end of last year. So this is relatively new for me to have journaled about this and realized all of these feelings to come about. So more before that, in my business, I always had a bookkeeper, and I just gave it to her and I didn't even care. I actually worked for a financial advisor for 3 years, and I found that to be so I just disconnected from that particular job completely. And so even with that disconnection, I've been really bad with money up till now. My husband actually took over the house finances. He's like, no, I'm not, you don't have to worry about it anymore. And then when it came down to business, I've always just had a bookkeeper, somebody to take it over. At one point, my husband was doing it and he was like, no, you can hire somebody. So we hired somebody. So more recently, within the last 6 months or so, I have been paying better attention to my finances, and also recently let my bookkeeper go so that I had to take care of my finances. And I have to pay attention to where everything goes, because I do know that I know my stuff. I'm really amazing at what I do. I make good money. I just need to have that last little bridge piece to finally understand what's going on with my worthiness, right? My 20 cents.
Love that so much. And what I really hear is you took the last piece of responsibility. You took, not that we always have to be super responsible, like that word triggers a lot of people, but you really took a hold of your life, your business, and said, hey, I'm going to be 100% involved in it.
Yeah.
I'm going to know what's going on. And I love that because I think that's a huge piece of our worth. That's exactly where we want to be striving for. I mean, I know I can tell you there's probably 15 things in my life that I'm like, oh, I need to really do better with. And yes, it's a process and you can't do them all at once and you have to take them one at a time. But I love that. I love, like, that's a great book right there. You know how we're always talking, with Dory in our books and stuff. Like, that would make an amazing either chapter, which, you know, I can facilitate that for you, or
Sure.
just your own book.
Yeah.
Like your
Yeah.
own story and getting that out there. I think that would go like gangbusters.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely been a journey. And there's a lot of things that maybe I either have blocked or don't remember, or pieces of that are maybe not come to light yet. Definitely not come to light yet. And I do know that part of this journey actually did start when I started my own podcast. And even though my podcast is not anything about this, it was definitely about podcasting and business related. And people started to reach out to me and say, I want you to help me. I need this or whatever it might be. And sometimes it was business related too. Like, oh, because before I did podcasting years ago, I owned a craft store, believe it or not, that had a bookkeeper for that as well. And then I also had my own TV show, all of that type stuff. So I have had some really great success, but bridging that to being able to help other people, I really felt it was my responsibility to finally get the hold of that one piece that I just have been ignoring, for lack of anything else, just ignoring, saying, washing my hands of it. So I finally decided to take that over. And that really, it was again spawned by my voice. I did not realize until I had done some human design work that my throat chakra is very open. And I had had coaches for a long time say, I don't know why you voice texted this to me because you just coached yourself. I don't really have anything else to say. Do you have any else? So I definitely know that when I talk, I can figure things out. And that's actually part of my design as well. So I am really confident that that is part of the healing process for me, for sure.
Absolutely. And knowing the things that are helpful to us. So like you figured out journaling, right? These are both ways to get these stuck feelings out, right? I love, Jen and I are always talking about journaling like all the time. So I'd love that because we're engaging a lot of parts of our brain and our body. And so we're able to, you know, really get things going. And then of course, when we're talking, especially when we're talking to other people, which is why coaching and therapy can be so beneficial, is when we share that experience with another person and then we receive in return, right, empathy and support, then that just really enhances the healing process. I love that.
Yeah. I've actually had the same therapist since 2003, which I've heard is unusual and to have one for quite so long. But she has been there through thick and thin, and she has been there for everything. And she even tells me how proud she is of me, of all of the inner work that I've done throughout my life. When I first stepped into her office, I didn't have any friends. I was alone. I had 2 infants. You know, I had a 2-year-old and a baby. And I just was like just a shell of the self that I am now. And I truly believe that probably going there and speaking every week for a while, and then every other, and then every month was part of my healing journey. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say sticking with the same therapist for a really long time is actually great in some regards because they know all the story and they can really dig in and help you. And I've definitely had clients that I've had since I began being a therapist, 2014. And so, you know, it's kind of like when you find a good one, whether it's a coach or a therapist, like
let's hold on to them.
Yeah. And it's hard to find them, period. Never mind just a good one, but hard to find them.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know about there. Here, it does, like, the good ones are definitely hard to find. But yeah, I hear that a lot. It's like, they're not calling me back or whatever. So,
And so I want to talk about something that you said, which I loved, because it's one of the tools that I use with my clients is called Voxer, which is just a voice app. It's like a walkie-talkie. And they can voice notes to me, like their things. They can do it in their voice. They can also type it. They can also send documents and things, but it's just an easier way. And so I'm always encouraging them to drop voice clips in when things are happening. And you're right. 90% of the time, they figure it out for themselves because they're talking it out. So what I come back in and do is validate it for them. I don't sit and over explain it. I just come in and go, yep, you're absolutely on the right track. This is it. Keep coming in here. And it's like, it's sometimes like I get paid a little bit to facilitate just that voice messaging app. And I absolutely love it. And another thing I do with clients, I have a couple that do this, is every day they come in there and they drop their 3 things of gratitude for the day. And I don't reply back to them. I just listen to them. I usually hit the heart so they know I've heard them, even though it tells them. But, that's just a way for them. It's a space, a safe space. And that's most of the time what we need. It's not so much about what the other person is telling us. Sometimes it is, but it's that safe space where we know we're not being judged, we're not being criticized, and hopefully we're not doing that to ourselves in the same breath. Like that we've learned that art of being able to just talk neutrally and not be condescending to ourselves as we're saying stuff out loud.
Yeah. I think too, it's sometimes maybe the questions you ask as well. And then they brew and it just, you sleep on it, you think about it, and finally something just aligns and clicks right into place. And you're like, the floodgates are open now, baby.
Yes, I love it so much. What a beautiful story you have. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's really beautiful. Anything else you want to talk about? Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do as a podcast queen? That's what I like to call you, the podcast queen.
Yeah.
Anything you want to talk about around there?
Yeah, I absolutely love podcasting. And one of my biggest things, it's kind of fell into me, right? So I mentioned I had a craft store. We opened in 2012. We closed it in 2017. But somewhere in between there, the local cable access came in and said, hey, we think you'd make a great host for a TV show. Would you like to do that? I then also became executive producer of that TV show. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Meanwhile, all again, behind the scenes of owning that craft store, I ended up, learning how to code websites and all sorts of like other things that you need to know when, writing emails and creating events and all those things you need to know when you're a business owner of a brick and mortar store. And then when we closed the store in 2017 was actually when the accident happened that precipitated the lawsuit. And I just went into like survival mode at that time. And so I took on a job at a financial advisor where basically I spent most of my time watching TV while doing whatever, because I'm very efficient. I'm a projector, so I'm very efficient at what I do. And then after that, I was like, I'm done with this. I just can't watch any more TV. I gotta move on. And I opened KP Creative Media, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I originally started this particular business as a website designer and did not love that. And my son is actually the one that said, Mom, you're really good at, the TV and you love audiobooks and you love podcasts. Maybe you should go into that. I took a course and I got my first client before I even finished the course. And that just spiraled from there because I was just like, I'm on a roll. I love this. I absolutely loved it. I learned everything that I could. I learned all about the editing side, all about the production side, everything that you could. But what I didn't have was that one little piece that said, I have a podcast And now I want to monetize that podcast. How can I grow that podcast? So it was last year, 2025, I joined a program and I became a certified podcast growth coach. I absolutely loved it because it was that one piece. I hated the fact that women were paying me to produce their podcasts, do all of that. And I wasn't, it wasn't growing, it wasn't bringing in clients. And so I personally needed that next jump. And that's when I did the certification. And now I absolutely love it because I feel like being seen and heard is just so important in any business. And sometimes we don't want to dance in front of TikTok, but having a podcast is still showing your authority. It's still showing who you are. You're showing up weekly or however, whatever your cadence is of publishing. And now I help women actually grow them so that they call in their clients. They start calling in and making money. Otherwise, it's just an expensive hobby. And not expensive always by monetary. I get that, but energy, right? I'm a firm believer of that too. You need to get something back from it, whether or not that is clients coming in, energy being your cup being filled, whatever that might be. And so if we can find a way for you to get to that next step, whether or not that's more downloads or whether or not that's more clients walking in the door, that's when I feel really good about it as well. So I love it. Now I use organic discoverability, podcast guesting. I have a bunch of different, as a matter of fact, I couldn't even tell you all the different pieces. I have a membership. I don't like to use the word membership. We call it an activation, where every month we go over something, just one little thing, and it moves the needle on your podcast every month. And that is just a great way to just make it one little bit better so that you are able to bring in the people that you need or to change whatever it is that needs to be changed. So yeah, I love helping women be seen and heard. And that's where I'm here. That's what I'm here for.
Love that so much. And I will tell all of our listeners, you may notice some little changes on our podcast on some of the different things because Kim and I have been talking and she's just been giving me some little tips and tricks on how to make it better and things that we can do. So I've adjusted and tweaked a few little things in the background. So there's some of that you might notice. It might look a little different occasionally, but that's just because Kim is amazing and she's giving me those fun little tips.
Yeah, I love hearing the stories of my clients. I had one client, we worked together for a couple of weeks in mid-December, so right before Christmas. And she came back to me in late January and she said, my downloads have tripled. Thank you. I was like, over Christmas? What? So it was just amazing to hear that. And a lot of other people. I have a client right now and their primary focus is trying to get more of their reels seen from the podcast. So they do the podcast and they create reels from it. And they want their reels seen to pull in more people to their Patreon. That's what their way is. And just got a picture sent to me, I believe it was yesterday. Their latest reels are hitting like 100K views. I'm like, that's flipping amazing. I love it. So yeah, I love those wins for my clients because they're going to get out there more, right? They have something to say and it's going to reach more people.
Yeah, I love that so much. Kristen, do you have anything else you would like to ask Kim or talk with Kim about while we're here?
I mean, and this, this may be helpful to other people is obviously I have a more localized business if I'm speaking just for myself. So just for other listeners as well, how does something like this work for like someone who can only use their services within a certain area? Like you had a brick and mortar store. So I'd be sort of similar to how just generally, like, how does that apply?
Yeah, I love that. So here's what I suggest. And this would actually be kind of along the same lines as if you were a speaker, right? Because you're probably going to be just in one location when you're a speaker. Do a pillar episode that kind of showcases who you are and what you do. And then when you have, say, a new client or you're in front of all of those speakers, all those people, you're the speaker and you're in front of the audience, give them that one episode to start listening to you, because that's going to be your particular like pillar episode. That's going to be the one that kind of showcases who you are and what you do. And then they get to hear your authority. They get to know you. They get to love you, and then hopefully get to work with you. Now, on the flip side of that, there are some things that you could do with advertisement with Spotify specifically that you could target just the area that you're in, just so you could get more listeners in that one specific area. But that's a different avenue, different direction. But I love the idea of having those one episodes or two. You could not even one. I mean, depends on who you help. So if you're helping teens and then say young moms and then say, octogenarians, you have 3 different episodes based on who you help. And then depending on who it is, you send them to that one episode to listen to or talk about that episode. You say, I had somebody that had that same problem and we talked it out in this case study on this episode.
Okay, really interesting. Yeah. I mean, Jen and I have done some little things like that, but yeah, that makes sense. I'm older than you, Kim. So it's like I only have so much information at my disposal on how to use like social media and stuff like that. So I'm kind of limited, but I have people helping me. But I have done I do EMDR, so I would consider that like one of my actual pillars, like not just a pillar episode, but a pillar of my practice. And so that's what I kind of showcased in one. So it's about directing people to the needs that I think they're going to have. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah. And actually, I had talked to Jen briefly about this earlier in the week. I think one thing that would be really cool for the two of you to do would be to interview each other. So she asks you questions on one episode, and then you ask her questions on another episode. And here's the other thing. If you've done this before, or say you've even had some old episodes before that maybe you did talk about what you did, but it's not recent, now's the time to do another one that's more recent, because small things change, your thoughts change, other things, life goes on. You're wiser today than you were yesterday or 10 minutes ago, So I still think that even though you may have already said, we did do an episode similar to that, I guarantee you that if you do another one with more listeners, more people, you're going to tweak that just a little bit, and you're going to find that there are other things that you can talk about or other things that you can bring to the table. So I always suggest that just whatever those pillars are, bring them up again. Because again, not everybody's going to go back and listen to every single episode that you've ever done unless you send them there. So,
right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Specific episodes on your website too.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. More things.
I have somebody that knows how to do that.
Figure out how to do.
I got you covered. I got you, girl. Because all of our episodes are on mine. Mm-hmm. So every week, the new episode for our podcast comes up on my website.
Yeah.
So,
but if she's got a specific episode, usually your hosting platform will let you embed just that one episode on your website. And even if you had just a blog, right? Anything like that, it's just an embed code and you just basically copy and paste it. Simple and easy.
Yeah. My problem is just absolutely having time to do any of these things. So I have a 22-year-old friend of mine who's like helping me. I'm paying her a very nominal to help me make content and then push it out, because I just don't know how to do it. And she's actually been really successful on like Instagram. So I'm like, okay, cool.
This isn't something you have to do tomorrow.
No, I know.
That's the beautiful thing. Like
tomorrow is not the day for sure.
We can record more episodes, because I actually want to record another one about who I am and what I do, and really talk about that, and then put that out in specific places.
Because we did do that.
Yeah, we did at the beginning.
Yeah, I hear you. What you're saying, Kim, is like things evolve. And
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you do not have to put onto your website every single episode that you've done. It could just be those 1 or 2 pillar episodes that you have. And then it's done. And then you send people to that one page and you don't have to worry about it again.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. So Kim, tell us how people can find you if they want to find you, and everything will be linked down in the show notes, but tell us how people can find you.
Well, thank you so much. So my podcast is Podcasting for Your Spiritual Business. You will see that it says Podcasting for Spiritual Women on the cover art. I have not changed the cover art, but I do often change the name because I also take everything that I do and I make sure that I put it into place as well. So I change the name quite often for keyword discoverability. So if you are looking for more information about keyword discoverability, I highly suggest that you go to Podcasting for Your Spiritual Business and start with episode 020. That is going to help you with your podcasting keywords if you are at all interested in that. That episode, and then there's some subsequent ones after that, but start there and listen in. And then otherwise, you can always go to my website. You'll find that. If you go to that episode, you'll find all that information too. But my website is kpcreativemedia.com. Or if that's too difficult, if you just type in kimparkinson.com, it will actually redirect you to the actual website as well. I own them all.
Thank you for being here, for sharing your story, for being so vulnerable, and really letting us go down this journey with you, both paths of it, because that was beautiful for both sides. And I love that. So thank you for sharing. And we just appreciate you being here. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you for having me.
Everybody else, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this with someone if they need this as well. Don't gatekeep this. Share these out. Other people need this, but be sure you subscribe and like it, because then you're going to know every time we drop an episode, and go to Kim's and do the same. So until next week, we'll see you all later.
See you later. Thank you for being here with us today.
If today's episode hit home, don't just keep it to yourself. Subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Because everyone deserves to know their worth.
Next week, we're diving even deeper with more insights and tools to help you break free from limitations and live authentically.
Until then, keep raising your standards, owning your worth, and embracing your value.